Yeah. Let's go. We just gotta go hard. I go the hardest. I bring the pain. Not what you used to. It's all part of the game. Yeah. I just gotta go hard. I just gotta go hard.
From the field to the film room to the war room, we've got you covered every step of the way as the road to the draft starts right now on BGN Radio. Hello and welcome to another episode of the BGN Draft Show. I am your host, Shane Haff. You can follow me on Twitter and YouTube at Shane Haff NFL. I'm joined today by my co-host and fellow draft enthusiast Dibes. Give him a follow on Twitter at Mr. Crockpot. Be sure to check out his podcast, Party on Broad. Dibes, how are you doing today?
Hanging in there, man. Not going to lie, dealing with a cold. But the show must go on. The Eagles have an incredible matchup against the Chiefs this week. So that's got me hype. But let's get into it.
You've heard of Michael Jordan's flu game.
Yeah.
This is Dives' flu / it's actually just a cold podcast. And so it's going to be the greatest. It's going to go down in the Hall of Podcasting Fame. Joining us this week is special guest. It is Dives' co-host on Party on Broad. He's also does shows with me, Birds of the Round Table, every Tuesday night. It is Ryan Reese. Give him a follow on Twitter at Philly Sports PSA. Ryan, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great, and just like Dive said, I'm ready for some Eagles football. I hate the bye week with a passion, it's sad that we have to wait an extra day, but it's going to be quite the game.
All right. We cut the dead weight that is Mark this week. Mark's out traveling for work, so we got Ryan to fill in. Small shoes here for you to fill, Ryan, but I think you're up for it. So let's start off here. We'll recap our player of the weeks last week. Dives had Jawar Jordan from Louisville, who had 17 carries for 95 yards, 2 receptions for 15 yards. Not a bad week there. Mark had quarterback Noah Fafita from Arizona, who was 21 of 35 for 214 yards and 2 touchdowns. I picked running back Bucky Irving out of Oregon. He had 19 carries for 118 yards and a touchdown, also had 43 receiving yards on 5 receptions. So a pretty solid week when it comes to our player of the week predictions. Hopefully we can keep that train rolling this week because, be honest, we've turned in some clunker picks at times down the stretch. So we're going to look to keep that hot streak going this week.
I think overall, though, we've been pretty spot on.
We've been pretty good. We've had a few of those hit or miss. I think I picked Travis Hunter the week he got hurt in the first quarter, which really sucked for my chances. So we've had a few of those, but sometimes there's nothing you can do about it. So, all right. So before we get to our player of the week predictions for this upcoming week, we're going to give you guys some Eagles targets to watch. Somebody you can keep your eye on as you're watching college football this weekend. So let's hit it. Let's hit the ground running here with our Eagles targets of the week. All right, Dibes, start us off here. Who is your Eagles target to keep an eye on this weekend?
All right, guys. If you're looking for a quality tight end prospect, that would definitely be an upgrade over Jack Stoll. If you're looking for a tight end 2 that might be available on day 3, we're going Ben Sinnott, a tight end out of Kansas State. He began his career as an undersized fullback, then bulked up to 6'4", 245 pounds. He is now Will Howard's most trusted receiver. This guy's quickness out of his breaks is as elite as it gets. He's athletic. He's versatile. He's a very good route runner. He's one of those throwback blue collar, OG physical tight end guys that I think would do really well here in Philly as a tight end 2. Just checks off a lot of boxes as a tight end prospect. Not the most athletic, but he can absolutely make defenders miss. He has amazing hands. If you watch the tape, this guy's hurdling players. He's making one-handed catches. He's been really impressive. So Ben Sinnott, he's also a plus blocker on the edge from the backfield as a lead blocker. So he's great at blocking as well. I expect this guy to possibly struggle a little bit through the draft process because he's not an elite athlete. And, for me, though, I love this guy. He's in my top 5 of tight end prospects, and probably a guy that not a lot of people know about, Ben Sinnott.
And Dallas Goedert is 28 years old, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the same age that Zach Ertz was when the Eagles selected Dallas Goedert. So all the Eagles need is for the Cowboys to really have their sights set on Ben Sinnott, and then they can trade up and snipe him here.
Yeah, he's really good. He's really good.
All right, Ryan, I'll throw it to you next here. Who is your Eagles target to keep an eye on?
Well, I went with Jahdae. Why am I blanking today? Jahdae Barron. Yeah, he is listed as a safety, but he plays a lot of his time in the slot. Plays for the Longhorns there. And, this guy's kind of, again, a versatile guy who can line up pretty much, whether it be in the box, in the slot, and really just kind of get after it. He's really good, great instinctually in zone coverage, and has really good, solid ball skills. One of the better route recognition D-backs that I've seen. And, he also has the quickness to kind of get up on the line of scrimmage and really kind of deliver some solid hits, in the run defense and stopping the run. So this is definitely a guy who I feel like is, with his versatility, is somebody that would fit the Eagles kind of, slot problems, if you will. And he really is good at tracking. So that's, certainly one of the pluses for him. Sometimes he plays a little conservative, and sometimes maybe gives a little too much cushion off the ball. But he's got good speed to kind of make up for it. And I think he'd be a great addition to this defensive backfield for the Eagles. And like I said, the versatility is something obviously Howie loves. Jahdae Barron would be, again, whether he's listed as a safety or listed as a corner. I've seen it all over the place. He just plays where he's needed. So,
all right, I missed the memo. Big 12 is my country, and you guys both went Big 12 players, and I'm outside the Big 12. I don't know what I was thinking. I should change it here on the fly, but that would mess up our nice little graphics. So.
Billy Bowman, go for it. You haven't covered him yet.
Yeah, maybe next week. I'll stick with my guy, offensive tackle Talisi Fuega out of Oregon State. He is a big-time riser so far this year throughout the college football process. He was a 3-star recruit coming out of high school, played 55 snaps at right tackle as a freshman in 2021 before he became the full-time starter last year. And one of the reasons I picked him for this week is we get to watch him against Braylon Trice, also a potential first-round pick out of Washington at edge rusher. So that should be a great matchup to watch in a great game that we're going to talk about more here in a minute. But Fuega is 6'6", 334 pounds, which is 91st percentile weight. This is a huge guy. I don't know if you know a team that, might have a right tackle nearing the end of his career, and they really like to use their right tackle's athleticism and space in the running game. I don't know if you know a team that fits that profile, but that's Fuega to a T. He had 11 pressures and 0 sacks allowed on 365 pass blocking snaps last season. He's allowed 10 pressures and 0 sacks on 273 pass blocking snaps this year. He has the #1 run blocking grade per PFF among all offensive tackles. He is a mauler in the run game, has a nasty streak. He's got long arms and good balance, which makes it really easy for him to play against speed rushers in space. But he also has the strength that lets him drop anchor against bull rushers. So he's kind of the whole package out there on the edge. Good in space as a run blocker. He targets cleanly at the second level against linebackers and safeties. He's got a strong first punch, really good hand placement with strong hands. If he gets his hands on you, he can lock you down. Now, he is a little prone to lunging at rushers, especially working from wide 9 alignments. Rather than staying patient and letting them come to him, he does like to lunge out, and that causes him issues at times. He's also got a little bit of inconsistency on his kick slides, which opens him up to speed to power rushes. So he's got some things he can clean up. I think he is a right tackle in the league for sure. I think he has round 1 potential. How the postseason process plays out for him is going to be huge, because every year you have guys come out of nowhere during the season, and sometimes their rise continues throughout the combine and all the interviews and things, and sometimes it starts to come back down to earth. So we'll see which way it goes for Fuega, but I think he's a guy that the Eagles could definitely be interested in at the back end of the first round.
If he's there.
If he's there. Yeah, if he's there. There are a lot of tackles this year in the draft, so that does work in the Eagles' favor if that were a position they decided they wanted to target.
Yeah, the offensive tackle class is really strong, especially at the top, and I've seen him projected top 10, and I've seen also him fall to like round 2. But I think at the end of the day, it's going to be a top 15, top 20 pick. He's kind of the one that's risen, as like Amarius Mims, who got hurt, has fallen. So yeah, Fuega is definitely really trending up.
Yeah, Amarius Mims, we profiled like 2 weeks ago. Braylon Trice, who's going to be rushing against Fuega, we profiled back in like week 3. So some names, building your vocabulary of college football prospects here as we head into the draft. You also wonder if some of these guys in such a loaded tackle class, maybe they go back to school. He doesn't have to come out. He is draft eligible. So also something else to be aware of. Like last year, I fell in love with Jared Verse, and then he went back to school. So that happens at times too. But anyways, those are some guys you can keep an eye on this weekend. Ben Sinnott, tight end out of Kansas State, defensive back Jade Barron from Texas, and then offensive tackle Talise Fuega from Oregon State. We picked some fun names to say this week. So all right, let's turn the page now. Let's talk about our player of the week predictions.
You can't manage this, can't break this, boy, I'm funded. Gotta keep my distance when you not 100, From the same ones say they love you, lady, funny, You can't match my energy, and yeah, you know it, Way too cold, yeah, man, I'm way too cold, Way too cold, yeah, man, I'm way too cold.
All right, our player of the week predictions. Dives, I'm going to let you kick it off here with a guy that you were going to take last week, and you changed your mind.
Yeah.
He had a fantastic game. Hopefully he can run it back. Who is your player of the week prediction for this week?
It's you for not screwing up the segment for the first time all season long. Usually
That's true. I always say Eagles player of the week.
Yeah, I'm going Bo Nix. Last week, over 400 yards. The Ducks rolled USC. The Oregon offense had over 500 yards. As a prospect, I think Bo Nix is just elite on the move. He's athletic. He throws with velocity on the move. He can hit second window throws with ease. He's a plus athlete. He can shred you on zone reads. I like Bo Nix a lot. He's not necessarily in my top 3 quarterbacks in this class. I think he needs to grow a bit when it comes to his decision making, his refinement, his accuracy, his footwork. This is a guy that I think struggles at times with his vision and making those pre-snap reads. He doesn't do a lot of that at Oregon. Again, like Bo Nix is an absolute wizard when it comes to improvising and hitting your primary reads quickly, which he does extremely well. But at the next level, I do have some question marks. This week, though, he goes up against Arizona State. The Ducks have dominated ASU in recent history. They are 11-2 since 2005. So for me, I think Bo Nix lights up Arizona State. I project him to go in that late first, second round area at this time. But Bo Nix, I think in previous weeks, I probably thought too hard rather than go with the bigger, sexier names. This week, I'm going with the sexier name, and it is Bo Nix.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see the battle for QB3 shape up. Obviously, Williams May 1 and 2.
Yeah.
probably in that order, although we'll hear smoke the other direction as we get closer. But QB3 is wide open. It's going to be interesting to see which way it goes.
Shane, there's even narrative starting that Drake May is number 1.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Already noise.
Yep. All right, Ryan, I'll throw it to you here. Who is your player of the week prediction?
Well, since I literally am playing for nothing, I have no rules. I just went completely outside of the box, and this is a guy that I'm really just starting to kind of dive into, and it's a familiar name for Eagles fans. It's one wide receiver named Reggie Brown. No, not that Reggie Brown, not the one from Georgia. This one's from James Madison. And he has been absolutely torching the college football world. He is being considered for Biletnikoff Award. He has 45 catches, 903 yards so far for the James Madison Dukes with 8 touchdowns. He had a monstrous day last week, 9 catches, 202 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But he seemed to kind of have one of those monster days almost every time out there. Going up against Appalachian State, who, again, famous for beating Michigan all those years ago. But James Madison only has 2 games left, has a chance to go undefeated. I believe last time I saw they were ranked 18th. So, obviously they're not going to really get into the playoffs or anything, but they're certainly having an amazing season, and their basketball team just knocked off Michigan State. So there you go. There's all that for James Madison. But yeah, this kid Reggie Brown is absolutely just a speedster, and he is blowing it up right now. So I'm going outside the box. I'm gonna continue to ride this train as I get more familiar with this wide receiver from James Madison.
All right.
I'd like to also add, I made a joke with a friend like a few weeks ago that I was watching James Madison tape. You're a sicko when you're watching James Madison, who's good this year. They have one of the more underrated edge rushers in this class, and his name's Jalen Green, and he's breaking a ton of stats, a ton of records. He's small, but he's got 15 and a half sacks. He's got 21 tackles for loss. But he's been just a monster. So Jalen Green out of James Madison. So keep an eye on him too.
Definitely.
So I Googled while Ryan was talking Reggie Brown game logs, and it pulled up not the right Reggie Brown.
No, it took me a while to filter through the Eagles Reggie Brown, to get to the James Madison one.
And then I just Googled Jalen Green, and it pulled up a Houston Rockets shooting guard. So you guys are picking players that you can't even find stats on. It's great. I am all for the Eagles continuing to accumulate Jalens. So we won't talk about the bad Jalen between the 2 good Jalens, but let's just keep the good Jalens rolling here.
Ironically, I think that was – I have this weird rule with football jerseys for the Eagles. I do not buy current players' jerseys. And I think my Reggie Brown jersey was one of my last ones. Like, he was like the nail in the coffin. I said, no more.
Yeah, believe me, that'll make you do it. Too bad I'm not smart enough to learn that lesson, as I have probably over 80 Eagles jerseys that, man, I regret a lot of them.
I bought a Jason Kelsey jersey. I figured that was pretty safe.
Pretty solid.
All right. My player of the week prediction is going to be Jaden Daniels, quarterback out of LSU. He's been on a tear this year. He's played phenomenal football. And this week he faces a Georgia State defense that ranks 121st in the NCAA in passing defense. And you could worry about volume in a game like this, but 3 weeks ago against Army, LSU won 62-0. And Daniels was pulled in the 3rd quarter, but he still ended up with 279 passing yards and 4 touchdowns. So even if they just totally obliterate Georgia State, which I would expect them to do, I still think he's going to put up a lot of counting stats. Hopefully he can get me home to winning this player of the week competition by like mid-3rd quarter when they shut him down. So Jaden Daniels, I'm running out of weeks, and there's still some good players I haven't picked. So this is the week for Jaden Daniels.
Dude, he's a beast. I caught some slack on my Jaden Daniels videos last week. He's won my winner of the week 3 times this year. So he's up there with some of the best of the best. Like he put up 600 yards, crazy. So if he didn't get hurt, he did take the L there. I'm trying to think. I think it was Alabama in that one game, but Jaden Daniels, I called him a 2nd-round pick, and people are like, "No, he's a 1st-rounder, top to bottom." And I still disagree with that. He's a little bit of an older prospect, but he can do a lot, man. He's a really interesting dual threat dude that, in the right system, could really thrive.
Yeah,
definitely.
All right, well, let's turn it over to our game of the week breakdown. This week, we are talking number 5 Washington at number 12 Oregon State. This game is at 7:30 on Saturday. Washington this is an interesting matchup because Oregon has such a good rushing attack. They're 2nd in the NCAA in rushing success rate. They average over 5 yards per carry. Washington's run defense is bad. Yeah, 127th in success rate. This is a bad matchup for the Washington defense. Oregon State has the top graded run blocking offensive line per PFF. I could see Oregon State really trying to slow this game down, running the football, and they're going to do that because although their secondary is good on paper, they haven't really faced many good passing attacks. And Michael Penix Jr., Rome Odunze, we've been talking about these guys on this show. They are lighting up college football right now. So Washington is favored by 1 in this game with an over-under set at 64. So Vegas expects this to be a very high-scoring game. Dibes, I'll throw it to you. What are you watching in this game? How do you expect to see it play out?
I think Washington gets the W here. I'm so impressed by how much Washington's able to kind of flip a switch and say, hey, today we're going to throw the ball. Hey, today we're going to run the ball and not miss a beat. This is arguably the best offense in college football. You touched on Oregon State. You're absolutely correct, Shane. This is one of the best rushing attacks in the country, nearly 200 yards on the ground per game. Damian Martinez, over 1,000 yards, has a ridiculous 9.1 yards per carry. My goodness, that's insane. They have another guy, Deshaun Fenwick, nearly 500 yards, another 7 touchdowns. But, can Oregon State slow down Penix and Odunze? That's where I go. Rome Odunze is one of my favorite prospects in this entire class, period. No one has been able to stop Penix or Odunze. They remain undefeated. You look at last week, Penix Jr. targeted Odunze 11 times. Michael Penix Jr. looked a little human, but he connected on 3 of them, and those 3 receptions went for 111 yards, and 2 of those were touchdowns. So I really like Odunze. He gives me Deebo Samuel vibes, just at 6'3". He's an amazing route runner. He's amazing at creating separation, amazing hands, can light you up downfield. I know it would be such a luxury pick for the Eagles, but if he's sitting there and the Eagles are drafting at number 32, I run to the podium and make that selection. He is a star. So for me, I got Washington winning this one, but it's going to be a really great game.
All right. So Dibes is on Washington. Ryan, how do you see this game playing out? What are you watching for?
Yeah, this should be a pretty nice back and forth battle. And yeah, I think Washington will ultimately pull it out. But yeah, Shane, you mentioned, and that's the first thing that I went to is just how bad Washington's run defense is and how great Oregon State's run offense is. So that's certainly going to be something that Washington offense is going to have to counteract. And they certainly are capable. Obviously, we've seen it all year. Penix Jr. Has played amazing. Rome Odunze has absolutely played amazing. I mean, this guy has 1,100 yards, 9 touchdowns. I mean, let's not forget Polk, who's almost at 1,000 yards himself with 8 touchdowns. Their passing offense is just lethal. And Dibes, you said it for last week. They were just like, we weren't really throwing the ball that well. Penix looked a little human. The weather kind of, was probably affecting all that. And so what did they do? They just ran the ball down their throats. And, that's the ability of this Washington offense. And yeah, I just think the Washington offense versus that Oregon State defense is just going to be a little too much for them to handle. Even though on the flip side, the Washington defense is pretty bad. Even though they have some really great players on that defense, it's just that rush defense, man, it's real bad.
I'm really happy you brought up Jalen Polk because there's a similar situation going on in LSU. LSU has Jaden Daniels, and everybody talks about Malik Neighbors, and rightfully so. Malik Neighbors is a first-round talent. But there's another wide receiver at LSU named Brian Thomas Jr., who's 6'4" and a flat-out stud, probably a day 2 selection. Jalen Polk's in that same tier.
Yeah.
He's been tearing it up. Again, 6'4", really talented downfield threat. So make sure you keep an eye on Polk.
Definitely.
All right. Well, that is going to about wrap it up for this week's episode of the BGN Draft Show. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for following this show throughout the season. We've certainly had a good time breaking down college football for you guys. The coverage is going nowhere. As we get closer and closer to the offseason, we'll start putting out big boards and all that stuff right here on this feed. So if you're enjoying the show, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get all the shows on the BGN radio feed. 5-star ratings and reviews are very much appreciated wherever you are streaming your podcasts. You can check me out on Twitter. I'm at Shane Half NFL. Dibes is at Mr. Crockpot. Ryan is at Philly Sports PSA. Make sure you check out their podcast, Party on Broad, college football all year round. We will see you guys next week for another episode of the BGN Draft Show.
Yeah. Let's go. We just gotta go hard.